Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the final bonus episode of Ocarina of Time. This time, I'm going to show you some old footage from when I created the Visualiser for Ocarina of Time, which will guide you through my process of designing and creating a Visualiser. Hope you enjoy the show. So, our first job is, as you can see here, we have the issue of the two screens. This is basically the most efficient way to lay them out without stretching the screens horribly. I can make the because they're different sizes for the 3DS, unfortunately. The top screen is wider than the bottom screen, and I can make the top screen bigger, but the issue is then that doesn't leave enough room for the bottom screen without seriously shrinking that down. I don't want to do that, and this is the best configuration you can really get. So you do have these bars at the top and bottom, but I'll just put up with them. I'll decorate them kind of nicely if I can. Here is going to be the main meat where all of our visualizers are going to go. We've got two configurations technically, because we can swap around what order the screens are on. Less common, I will use this configuration, in which case I'll have to slightly redesign the visualizer to fit in there. But I'll cross that when I come to it. For now, I'm going to design everything for the A kind of this configuration. So to start with, what do I want it to look like? Here is my very hastily hand-drawn plan of what it's going to be. So as you can see, this here and this here are the top and bottom screens. That should be obvious. But then these are there's kind of 7 panels here. These two at the top will be meters that will fill up as I get stuff. This one on the left will kind of fill up as I get heart containers. This one on the right for Skulltula tokens. This musical staff will be used to kind of record all the Ocarina songs we've learnt. And then 4 panels underneath for collectible items. So we've got items, equipment, upgrades, and key items. So that's kind of the plan. Step 1 is just to make space for all of these things on the visualizer and see how much space we've got to work with before I actually start putting any designs on it. So I'm going to put that off to the side on my second screen, which you can't see because Shadowplay can only record from a single screen, and I'm just going to try and play around with some stuff and see what works. So what I'm actually doing here is measuring that in terms of pixels. So I believe it correctly said, yes, that's 320 wide, which I probably could have worked out from resolutions on the thing. But yes, so 320 gives me, if I want these things to take up half of it, we'll make them 150-ish. That'll give me a few pixels wiggle room anyway. So that actually looks pretty decent at the moment. Weirdly, we've got more, like if I bring my thing up here, you'll see we've kind of got more, oh bugger, where have you gone? We've got more vertical height than I kind of thought. That this whole screen is kind of taller than I thought I was going to have space, so I may end up moving these down a little bit. Depends what I do for a design to fill up the white space. Because the staff, well, it depends how big I want the staff to be, I suppose. But I'm kind of going to base that more off a texture I've already got from the game. At which point, I guess I should talk about that. So, the website that I find extremely helpful for this sort of thing is, ta-da, the Spriters resource. So, this is basically, people have been very nice and they've ripped and contributed sprites for a lot of games, and so this is where I kind of take elements from the game's design to use in my own visualizers. The one that I will find particularly handy for this is the HUD elements one, so thank you very much to Super Smash Ball for submitting that, because this, as you can see, is a lot of everything, and these are all what I'm going to use to kind of build up the visualizer. This actually was, weirdly, the one final thing I want is not on here. There's a kind of staff that appears in the game when you start playing the Ocarina. And that, I think, is on one of the other ones. That is on text box, this one here. You can see it there. So thank you to ManPaint55 for that. So, I want to use this icon, so let's bring that in and just see kind of how this scales. Let's pick it up at its maximum extent, which is probably about that-ish. Yep. And let's see how it looks lengthwise if we scale it to the length of this box. That's alright, it's a bit smaller than I'd like, so I think I will actually allow it to be bigger and just go off the end a little bit. How does that look? Yeah, that's not bad actually. We'll just have that, I think. So we'll place that there for now. Might want to actually just at this point trim off the edge of it ever so slightly, just so it fits in a bit neater. I've still got, yeah, more space to play with, but I can slide these around a bit, probably just bring them all in from the top and down from the bottom until they kind of match, because I kind of want to keep these boxes being squares where I can. I'm going to rename stuff, because never forget to do that as you go along, otherwise it's awful to do it at the end. Right, now I've kind of got the panels in the position I want them to do, I'm going to work on the background. So, I had this up earlier. I'm going to try and take it from this a little bit. It's obviously tiny. Wow, I mean, if I bring this thing into Photoshop, the whole thing's really wide but really small. But if you scale things up and kind of use this, it's called nearest neighbor interpolation. Pixel art will look decent-ish when scaled up, as long as you're not taking the piss with it too much. So if we copy this thing over, roughly. So we'll start at above to get it to the right scale. I kind of want to use it for the tops and the bottoms. See how that looks. Probably want it underneath to scale it properly. Right, that's not bad. That would kind of fit into there. Or you could just have it running entirely all the way across. Might just do that for now. Okay, right. Anyway, I need to stretch this top bit out so that it goes all the way along. So, we start it there. And then we basically just continue pulling it along in a replicated fashion until it looks decent. Which it won't if I've done that. Hold on a second then. Need to actually go a little bit lower. And, you know, let's go for a bit of authenticity by flipping this bit in the middle. That didn't work at all because it's layered wrong, of course. Well, if we trim that end bit off anyway. Oh, that was covering an important bit over there. Well, I've bollocked everything. There we go. That doesn't look half bad over the top. I'll take that for now. Need to clean up this bit later, but for now, that'll manage. So, let's merge all of those together, and then basically bring them down to the bottom. Wholesale. Does that work? Yep, that works. Wonderful. I don't think I want the corners on this for now. I think I'll use them a little later. So I'll group them together as... Actually, I'm going to merge them together entirely and just call that... Oh, bloody hell. Didn't want to bring up that. Background. Man, I cannot type today. You know what? Actually, I will put it in a group called background, but I will call this one bars, I guess. That'll do for now. Right. Now, I wonder, having had a bit of a think about it just now, if these panels might look decent if they were up there. And I've got this potential Triforce crest thing, which I think might look pretty decent if it were overlaid behind it. So, not overlaid at all, the opposite of what I said, underlaid. So, let's put that there. Actually, we want this technically to be behind the bars a bit. And how does this look if we scale it to this size? The answer is not great. It's kind of too wide for it. What if we said it's to just put the crest part on there? That's pretty alright-ish fit. Not amazing, but it could be a lot worse. The rest is all garbage for now. I'm only focusing on the crest just to kind of get that in position. Now this background is a bit of an awkward one to actually replicate, so I kind of have to just pull it from various sources. So I kind of want to get the boxes sorted, I suppose, before I get the rest of that done. So let's clear that rest of that part of the background. There's a bit underneath the screen, but we can leave that for now. Actually, what's that? Oh, have I accidentally, as part of that screen, actually transparent there? Oh well, I guess something went wrong when I was removing the background. Let's bring that back up, and we'll call that crest. Right, let's make some boxes first. I think I'm going to try and construct them out of this. The interior of each box I haven't designed yet, but the exterior I will do first, because I want them to look slightly different anyway. So, let's slap those bits into a subfolder called Guide in Panels, and then layer 1 here is going to be the real business end for now. Right, how do these look when I scale them up? So why do they need a bottom? Oh, that's actually a pretty good estimation of a square I've done there. Let's do that. Oh, very good. Nice. Right, so let's just actually rotate that on itself to just create an edge there. I say the insides I have yet to design, but I'll do something about that before too long. Let's put that there. And merge these together. And we'll put one on each panel, just to see how it looks. So there we go. If I take the guide off, you can kind of see it's got these little edges. I've mixed around what's in the middle just so it doesn't look too duplicated between them for now, but I will redo the designs on those middle bits anyway. Well, I mean, that's going to be where the various items appear anyway. But for now, that's actually coming together pretty nicely. I can probably actually move the crest down a little bit. I've got a bit of wiggle room on the bottom. Right, let's construct a background for this next. Well, I want to kind of take a chunk out of this that I can then scale up to be the inside of my boxes. Wow. Remember what I said earlier? Let's name them all first. So that actually weirdly looks a bit too dark. I mean, it is darker. So let's see if I can actually just quickly bring it up to be... So I kind of like the colour at the moment here, just not with the green designs on. I mean, the green designs are nice-ish, but they're not going to be there in the final version anyway. Try that. Yeah, that's a pretty good match. Right, let's now copy this with a bit of finagling onto the other ones. Finagling is always good because it makes it look different even if it's not. Literally just a little bit of rotation or flipping as you move it between areas will make it look different. There we go, wonderful. Our panels are kind of coming together. Now what I'm actually going to do here is put each panel into a separate group because we're going to have elements within the panel, so that will be important to keep track of. So as you can see, each one's now its own thing, and we can also turn them on and off, and we've color-coded them so I know kind of what's what, and that should also color-code all the contents. You'll notice I haven't been dealing with the staff for now. I'm leaving space for it, but I will deal with that a little later, I think. Now, with that done, I kind of want to finish off the background to the panels, so this was kind of why I said I wanted a lighter and a darker bit, because that's exactly what I plan to do here, is to assemble one out of, let's say, something like this, tiled. You won't notice the tiling because there's basically so much stuff behind it. Right, that's that done. The crest doesn't quite merge onto it, but I'll deal with that in a bit. If we turn on our various panels, they all look pretty nice on there. Starting to come together now. You get an idea of how this steadily builds up, and it's quite nice. It's a satisfying process. Actually, you know what, with the panels in place, the crest doesn't merge that badly. Let's see if I can just do anything about it with just brightness and contrast. Yeah, there's kind of too much red in it. Might have to leave it there for now, unless I can do something crafty. There we go. It's not perfect, but if I go to 100% zoom, looks pretty good actually, all things considered. I may consider putting a bevel around these panels a bit later on. Actually, let's try that now. How does that look? Oh, awful. Whatever it is, it needs far less light. Just a very subtle one. It does kind of work to make them pop a little bit more. Let's go for that. I should show you can't actually see the bevel tools here because they are on my screen. As in my side screen. My personal screen, for me. Let's put on the entire panels thing. That's worth knowing, actually. I'll have to deal with that later because that's on the entire... Well, you know what? I'll just have to make the content of the panels elsewhere. But then that makes my grouping pointless. Oh, fuck it. I'll work it out when I get to it. If we slap that on the crest, this is probably just going to highlight how bad my colouring in was. Yeah, no, looks much better without it. Actually, no, that's not bad. How does that look when we zoom out? Oh, we are zoomed out. Yeah, I'll allow that. Right, now, next step, let's fill in these. So, we go back to our old giant thing here. So the hearts one is going to obviously have a heart on it. So where's my old heart icon? There we go. So these are obviously quite small, but as I say, pixel art scales relatively well. Where the fuck did that go? There we go. So I'm going to make a group here for, I'm going to call them meters, because we have to do something a bit crafty with these to get these to actually display as meters as I want them to. So we'll scale this up until it fits nicely in there, which is probably about that. I should have taken off the black background before doing that, but hey. Let's remove it now. That didn't quite get it, did it? Let's try it again, but anti-aliasing it. That's always dodgy to do with. Well, you know, you're still missing bits of it. I should correct the tolerance up, won't I? Well, there's another way around this, which is to load, rather than copying and pasting the sprites from the sprites resource, load them in properly by saving and loading, and then that way they have transparency in. See, there's two things. There's that icon that's used for piece of heart, and the one we're technically using is a heart container, which is down there, but I think the heart container one actually looks better. So there, it already has the background move. Oh, that's why it was looking dodgy, because it had a black shadow on a black background, which is going to look super dodgy. So let's get rid of that and replace it with that. Wonderful. How big do I want this to look without being ridiculous? Let's go for that. Pull it down a little bit so it's centered. And there we go. Very nice. Starting to come together. I'll bring the Skulltula one in too, which is handily positioned right next to the heart container. Oh, that's got a kind of fiery edge to it. Scale it up to the same size, so if I set that to pixels, that's 126 squared. So I can do exactly the same on this. I've set it to 126. And it'll come out the same size, which is nice. Yeah, that looks good. Slide it along. Wonderful. Don't think I care for that bit there. Let's get rid of that. Let's make it look a bit nice. Right. Now, do I bevel the edges of these is the question. As in, it can kind of look like they're sunk into it. That doesn't necessarily work that well with metery things, though. Let's see how it looks. If I do a kind of, yeah, bevel and emboss. But let's set it to 100, size to whatever. It doesn't affect it because it's already kind of beveled, but what I want to do is an inverse one right down and outer bevel, and it kind of looks like it's sunk into it. Doesn't look great, let's be honest. We'll just keep it like that for now, I think. So, how we do the actual meters is we need to first make ourselves a gradient that's about that wide. So, make a new layer, which we call... Oh, buddy, yeah. Which we call heart meter. And in an area about that big, we make a black box. Then we just feather the edge of it ever so slightly. Just so it makes a bit of a faded transition rather than a solid one. Wonderful, there is that gradient. And we set that to a clipping mask, which then means, look at that, the heart is covered up, but you can raise it up like that. And basically you just calculate, so at that point it's at y equals 70, at the point at the top, there we'll say, is the very top, it's y equals minus 58, and you just make a sequence along those points, like a kind of timeline for when, to indicate how much you need to move it up by when you get a kind of a given heart. So we'll leave that there for now, and then I will obviously make a skull meter, which is exactly the same thing, except we set the clipping mask to be over the skull. There we go, and we set that to like there. Oh, that looks quite menacing when it's fully down, the skull one. I'll set that to like there as well, just so I can see how they both look from orbit. There, looking nice, this thing. You can see this has already come together. I've only been doing this for half an hour. It's an easier process than you think, actually. It's just the getting your head around it at first. And also, I know what I want to do for the staff, and that's going to take some time. But let's get the other panels done. So we need to actually populate them with things. So I have got a list of everything that needs to go in every one. So as you can see, you've got the 4 things, and there are some things which possibly aren't included on here, like fishing rods and maybe certain types of upgrades and something like that. But I kind of wanted to keep it to round numbers so this thing looks nice and balanced. Almost everything that I care about is on there. So first off, the items. We have 16 of them, which means we need to subdivide this items panel, which is this one, I believe, yep, into the inner area of it. We need to basically find a way of dividing it into 4. So for that to work, we need to work out how big it is, which is 138 squared. So, let's bring up the old calculator. 138 divided by 4 gives me 34. Let's allow a bit of wheel room around them and turn it down to 30. So, that's how big I need my items to be. I believe they come by default as 42 by 42 in the game, so I actually need to scale them down a little bit. Well, you know what, I'll actually just assemble this as a grid first of just 30 by 30 blocks, and then I'll overlay the items on top of that. So I assume, oh yes, obviously if I put these in, they have the damn effect on them. So, let's make another one for, well, we'll paste this fellow here, put it outside of there, and we will call this elements, I suppose I'll remember what that is. And then we make a group here for on the items part, which of course we cover blue. And I've made it red, but oh well. This is just for measuring anyway. Right, So let's put this at the edge and then bring it so it's not quite at the edge. How's that look? Yep. And then we just position them evenly. Okay, that's giving me a bit of access. Right, let's do this the harder way and actually calculate it. So, having calculated that, I've calculated basically the center points of it to evenly spread them out. So this next one is 1665. Apparently that's how much space you need between them. Then the next one is 1700. And then finally the one following that is 1735. Yep, those do look quite nice. Now let's spread them out. Or merge those together as a background and then spread them down vertically. So that I'm then positioned at 410, 445, and finally at 480. Look at that, you've got a nice little grid within a grid. There's an easy way of doing that, I've not worked it out yet. It's all just calculations. So, what part? So that one has 16 on it. Which other ones? There's also another one that has 16, definitely. Yes, the one of upgrades. So, let's clone this for the upgrades one as well. Make sure that's nicely lined up. Yep, there we go. We'll call that upgrades and put it in purple. That's great. There we go. Now, the one for the quest items is going to be a little different because I'm going to base it on this thing, which is actually semi-transparent because it's kind of more of an indent. But this is kind of... So this is the grid in which the medallions appear when they're in your quest screen. I kind of want them in this layout. And then hopefully there'll be enough space in the middle to put the 3 gems in there that kind of match that Triforce configuration. So I'm just going to have to use this for now as a way of kind of just lining them up right. I don't intend to actually use this as is, because it'll be the wrong size for one. It's not a square. Well, it is a square. Well, that's quite surprising. More like that. But that's just for roughly estimating the relative positions. So if I bring in another one of those little things, I kind of want to keep everything now at 30 pixels now. I know I'm using that. Let's line these up on here. Now, does this give me room for the ones I want in the middle? Let's get rid of that. Let's bring this down the right amount, and let's bring these all up to the walls. I kind of only just wanted to get the vertical separation right. So until that lines up there. There we go. Right, now let's see if we can fit another 3 of these in the middle. It's not going to look great, is it? Well, you know, it's a start. Position those there. That might actually look alright. I mean, it does look weird, but it's not, as long as it's symmetrical weird, that's what matters. I suppose we can test that by merging these 2 together and checking that their midpoint lines up with the midpoint of this one, which it does there. But why do they have a... I'll connect them up a bit more, like around the edge and around the middle, when I've got the actual items in place, and I know how big they're going to be, because obviously there's circles and stuff. The square is like the maximum square extent of the thing. It'll actually, or there will be less than that. Then my final one for equipment actually only has 3 columns rather than 4. But I'm going to maintain the... Because it's still got 4 rows. 1 for swords, 1 for tunics, 1 for shoes, and 1 for shields. I'm going to maintain them at the same kind of height. Let's group all of these together, of course, under... What the fuck's it called? Key items. No, I called them quest, didn't I? Let's at least be consistent, and we'll call that in orange. And then, yes, so finally we want to take... Oh, let's take this grid from the items. And use that for our... Oh, I got to look at one quest by accident. I absolutely did. Let's use that for the old... Whatever the fuck I called this. And then I think I want to put the next one in the middle, roughly. I should probably position these manually as well. Wonderful. So, that's how they're all going to look. That's not bad. Now, the final thing I actually want to handle... let's call this one quest. No, it's not. It's equipment. and mark it in green. Now, while I've been doing this, I had a bit of a change in thought process about how to do the songs, because I had an idea of how I was going to do it. I was going to have the staff, and then you have notes on the staff with little symbols representing the songs we learnt, which would just fit in there. But I think I've got the room to do something different, because I forgot about these, which are the little buttons you kind of press to activate each of the songs on the touchscreen. So I'm actually going to use these instead as my marker, because they're kind of pre-made symbols and everything, and I think they will just fit in. So let's make an area, a kind of marker for them. So it was 4 by 3, so I want it to be 4 times what it is. So 4 times 36. 4 times 36 is 144. Nope, you've fucked me. Is what you've done there. Right, let's set this to pixels and 144. There we go. Right, using that, we can make another marker. We'll make it a disgusting colour. There we go. And let's see if this is going to fit in. So I'm going to save this before I do anything to it. And then, right, so I want to move, on the background, get rid of the crest for now, at least just turn it off. Then I need to move, what's the issue with having the panels and the elements separate? All the elements, you know what, actually I'm just going to put the meter panels in with the meters. Underneath them, granted, he says, putting them on top of them. Oh, now they've not got the thing. I'll just, you know what, I'll regroup them up there and call that panels up there. It's getting real complicated, but I'm managing, because in that way I can still put the layer style on them and put them underneath all of that nonsense. What's this? Oh, that's my new thing, of course. Let's take that away. I'll just go in meters, just in the bottom of meters. There we go. Wonderful. Right, now I can move my elements and my panels. That's still got, in the guide for that, it's still got the quests. No, not the quests, the staff. Let's get rid of that. There we go, panels. Oh, it's still got guide parts in it, that's why it's registering up there. Oh well, we can ignore that. Let's take that and move that down basically as low as it'll go to down there. We've also got a bit of stretch room there, because the gap between those two isn't even. So let's scale this up to fit in that gap, so we'll line that up to the edge. Oh, look at that. Oh, it's perfect. Actually couldn't have asked for this to be any better. Except for maybe this bit here, but if we take the equipment and upgrades, no, equipment and items, and equipment and items, move those down a little bit, look at that, bags of space. So we can bring these panel things straight in now. I just need to work out what size they need to be, so we'll call this one songs. I don't know if you're able to follow me or not, but hopefully you are. So let's measure how big that one is. It is... Well, the important thing is the width, which is 260. We can scale up the rest of it to that. So the way we do that is we copy these things out of here. Did I say 260? You'll have been able to check back on the footage. I don't have that luxury. Start from up there. And go down to there. Now we put that in a new thing, and we scale it up using nearest neighbor interpolation, because that looks better for pixel things going up, and we set it to, did I say 240 for the width? Better hope I did. Let's try that. And let's see. Clearly didn't say 240 for the width. 240 is the height. What was the width then? The width is 306. How weirdly specific. I suppose it's just kind of fitting the gap that's in there. So let's set the width to 306. And of course that sets the height to, well, 249 technically, because there's white space in the middle of these which I can get rid of. So let's grow that up. And is there any background to this at all? I guess there isn't yet. It should be simple enough to slide these in. So, look at that. They fit not perfectly, but I'm going to make them fit perfectly. So we just have to... I should probably separate these out now, but I'm not going to, am I? That's one slid up. That's two slid up. And that's three slid up. I'll probably actually give them a bit more space around them. By sliding some of this around in just a second. But you know what? Actually, that doesn't look half bad with them right touching each other. Actually, let's just, we'll give them literally a pixel in between them each time just to make sure. Maybe 2 pixels. I can spare 2 pixels, I'm sure. And 1. Nope. 1, 2. Oh, maybe I can't spare 2 pixels. Maybe we're going to be colliding at the bottom here. Oh dear. Well, I didn't think about that. Oh no, actually, we're fine. 1, 2. And then we can actually just move the whole assembly up a little bit to be evenly spaced between the top and bottom. And now let's just separate them out laterally if we can. So that's here. 1, 2. And on this side. 1, 2. I'll have to come up with a way of blanking these at the moment, which I kind of haven't got yet, as in like for when they're not unlocked, but I'll do that when I blank the rest of them actually. This is coming together nicely. I'm going to take a quick break and get something to eat, and then I will be back. So, after what was not in the end a short break, it's actually been about a week and a half since I last looked at this. No, it's actually been way more than that. Look exactly when it is. It's been 19 days, so 2.5 weeks. Time to continue and finish this. So, we've got 2 tasks to do. We need, well, 3 technically. We need to have a kind of off mode for each of these song buttons, because that's them when they're kind of unlocked. We need a kind of generic one that covers all of them. And we need to then sort out items here. And then finally, we need to sort out how the B one will look for when you've got the different layout of the screens. So, though that won't come up so much, I think I'll only do it when I'm literally showing something off on the bottom screen anyway, so it doesn't have to be that careful. Though I could actually just stretch and scale. I might just do that. I'll see how that looks. No point in redesigning it, hugely. Let's start off with the items. So the items, I've scaled these boxes so they'll all fit in them, but... So the items here are all the same size, and I think they're just slightly too big. So let's start with the old Deku stick right at the top. That will give me an idea of how much they need to be scaled. I think it's 75% is what I calculated it as. Let's try that again. So if we bring that over, the first one in the items one, which is this one here, isn't it? Yep. The first one in here is a Deku stick. And I'm assuming, oh, balls. Oh, balls. Man, I've been doing different stuff since I last touched this, haven't I? If I scale this down by 75%, I should have tested this with one that fills up much more of the space than a Deku stick. I mean, that does also fit it perfectly, so I think I'm spot on there. Need to keep that back to nearest neighbour so the scaling looks good. Yep. Right, let's just try this with the bigger one. Hold on a sec, I've got a list of them all here, and I'm just going to cross them off as I do them. Which one of these takes up most of the space? Medallions, I'd say. Okay, I'd actually start with the medallions then. What order do they go in? What's at the top? Let's find out. So we start with the forest one, apparently, on the top right of that. This will confirm at least whether my 75% scaling is on point. If so, I'll just auto-scale all of them. This should be in quests. That's there. There we go. Blah, blah, blah. Nope. There we go. And we want it to be orange as well. Orange, there we go. And scale that down by 75%. Yep, perfect. Right, that's handy, because then that means I can just take all of these. Obviously, we don't use all of these, because these are for other ones which aren't necessarily going to be on the visualizer at all. Let's just outline this whole section. Oh, I've missed off the top. Okay. There we go. We'll just take this and actually bring it into a new thing. And then we scale the entire thing down by 75%. Nearest neighbour. Can I set this to percent? I can, rather than have to calculate what 75% of those values are. That would be easy enough. Nothing to think of it, just multiply it by 0.75. Anyway, that is the smoother way of doing it. I don't know if nearest neighbour actually provides the best results in that. Let's try scaling it down instead, using a different type of inter. Because I think the scaling up pixely stuff, nearest neighbour looks great, but for scaling it down, well, I'll try what it recommends for reduction by cubic sharper. Let's try that. Bring that down to 75. Yeah, that's much nicer actually. We'll stick with that, which means I'll have to lose what I've already got, but that's fine. And let's lose this one as well. Boink. Right, so I'll bring all of the, what they call medallions across for now, and then I'll just rearrange them on here. They're all in the same layer for now, so make that orange, merge at least all of this into one BG, and then, right, let's go with this. So, first off, we'll take the old forest medallion. I could just move it, but I kind of want to make them separate layers anyway. Let's put that there. And let's just line up all these medallions. Weirdly, I was just checking there the order of Shadow and Spirit, and they are this way around, so it does kind of go Forest, Fire, Water, Spirit, then Shadow, then Light, despite the fact that actually you get Shadow pretty much, I think you have to get it before Spirit, so that's slightly strange, but there we go. I'll just do it in the order it is on the collection screen, because blame the game, I suppose. Right, with that done, oh god, there we go. With that done, I don't actually want to delete the background bits for it there. The other thing we need to bring in is the... Where are they? They're on this one. Ah, Christ. I should get rid of that for now. We need the 3 precious jewels. And let's just position those. Right, now if we actually get rid of the background so we can see how that really looks. And there's actually a lot more space than I was thinking there, which is nice. Now we basically just need to connect these with some engraved lines to make them look kind of cool. So, do I have to find things? Do I want to bevel these or anything? I don't think I do. I think I'll just have them sitting there like that. As in, like, how does that look at 100%? I think that looks pretty good, rather than doing like an engrave. Well, you know what? I might try the engraving. Let's see. How do I go about doing that? Right, first we got to make group for all of those, called quest items. Then basically we just need to get a picture of the outline of them, so for that we duplicate it but merge them all into a single group, and then we colour them all in the same colour. So let's choose some blending options on the other screen, colour overlay. Let's choose a nice fetching disgusting green. How's that? Lovely. Right, and rasterize that. So that just gives an idea of kind of the actual outline shapes of them, because then we can kind of cut that into the panel behind it, I think. If we... Where did I put these? Oh, it's been too long since I actually looked at this all. There we go, that's it. So, if we take those, and then we cut that same shape out of the background, shouldn't make a difference. It will if we turn this off, because you can kind of see through it the nonsense that's behind. That looks quite cool, actually. Now, if we turn these back on, we don't notice any difference, but what we can now do is do some edging on this, and I believe, ta-da! Oh my god. Okay, that's a bit much. Let's not do that. I'm going to play with some stuff over here. Let's just make that a little bit smaller, I think. There we go, I think that looks kind of good, that they're kind of inlaid that way. Ugh, the water medallion doesn't look great, I'll be honest, but how does that look at full zoom? That definitely looks a little bit better. I just need to actually put these behind that. That didn't work at all. Oh, that's because that's not actually just an edge. Alright, let's clean that up. There we go, that looks not half bad, apart from that bit at the bottom there, but yeah, I might just be stuck with that. Right, I don't know whether I'm going to do that, so I've undone that, because I didn't particularly like the look of it. I don't know whether I'll do it with the items as well, but I've kind of got a different idea of what to do here that I'm basing off. As you can see over here, there's a picture of... There we go, there's a picture of the actual quest screen there, so I kind of want it to look something like that. That's kind of what I'm roughly in my head basing this whole thing off, I think. So I kind of want connected by little ridges with little indents around them, and then a Triforce thing in the middle here. Well, you know what we'll try for now is I'll try connecting them with lines and see how that looks. I think I want those to be a little heftier. Let's try that. Yeah, that probably looks decent. Let's connect this down to there, and that one to there. And with that done, we can hopefully just duplicate that on the other side to make sure it looks symmetrical. I mean, technically I should have duplicated it top to bottom as well, but I actually don't think this thing is entirely symmetrical in that way. That looks weirdly a little bit skewed, actually, so it looks like it's not connecting to the top and bottom properly. Let's try that. Does that look any better? Let's ignore that half for now. Yeah, that looks like it's connecting properly, at least, though it's a bit off on that side. How's that? Fire medallion's a bit further out than the bloody thing, isn't it? Can't have that. That's not on. Let's bring these guys in a little bit as well. There we go. Right, let's mirror that on the other side. There we go. That's a nice bit now, so let's use that. And if we use the layer that it's technically behind as a clipping mask over it, now we can do something quite cool. So kind of what we've got there is, we've got that little kind of ridge connecting them, but you can't see it because it's the same texture as the thing behind. But if we were to apply something like a bevel to it, it will suddenly stick out, like so. Except that doesn't look great. So, that's because it's tiny. Let's change some stuff on this. Oh god, well, that's a bit much. I guess it's just because the angle on the light, it isn't getting the verticals particularly well. Actually, before I do that, I also want to mark out edges of the medallions on that one, so let's try this. So if we merge, so if we turn these off for a second, and we merge those two shapes, and then turn the clipping mask back on for them, we'll have the same kind of effect, except now it should also cover where the things are. So let's see how that looks if we bevel it. Not bad. I just still want the stupid default. Why does it save these as the default setting? So I want that on 100. You can't see what I'm doing, so I'm going to bring that over. Put it up there, I suppose, for now. 100. Let's... Actually, we want this to chisel down anyway. Crack the depth up a bit. Yeah, that's starting to look nice and embedded as it should. 200. How'd that look? Just add a little contour on there to make it a bit harder. 4. 5. Yeah, that's probably enough. It's not making much of a difference to the lines anyway, it's just the... I won't be able to see most of that. The only thing is whether I need to make an outer bevel. Perhaps I do, in order to actually capture the things properly. Let's try it with an inner bevel and see how it looks. If I turn the quest items back on, yeah, actually you can't see it at all on the medallions, so let's switch that to an outer. Ridiculously hard 1 kind of works. Is that really the smallest size you can do? That feels a bit ridiculous. Because that's clearly like more than a pixel. I mean, another potential way around this is to do an inner bevel or an expanded surface. Let's try that. So if we bring this up by 102%, I can't even see what I'm doing because I've got the texture on it. Because now we can just use the outer edge on those, on that thing I've just made, which is hideous, I know, but it's going away. First, turn them off. Get rid of the ones for those, because I'll deal with those in a bit. And we also weirdly want to... I don't want to make them all the same yet. There we go. And click mask. And now let's try that. Yeah, now we can get a much finer inner bevel, certainly. Much tighter, as in, that is. Probably need to turn the bloody quest items on so we can actually see how that looks. Let's try that. Ta-da! That's pretty good, actually. I can actually bring that in a little bit more. Actually, no, I can't really bring it in. It just makes it... Oh, because that's limited by where I actually set the stroke to. Let's do that to 5. Does it look better if we put a bit of shading on it? Yeah, it does. It connects to the lines much better. There we go. From orbit, that looks pretty good. And it's like, it's subtle, the effect of having the edging on it, but it just makes them stand out a little bit more, and especially when they're kind of not there, because I think initially I'll have them probably covered. They'll end up looking something like... what, that? Something kind of like that. And then that way, you, like, if I've got that on, you can just see the edging there does make them just stand out and look a little bit nicer rather than just black blobs on their own. It makes them feel like they're part of something. I haven't actually thought about how these things are going to look when they're not... Well, I've thought about it, but I haven't done anything on how things are going to look when they're not unlocked yet. Right, so that's the outer bits done. With the inner bits, well, I want a Triforce-y kind of thing, so... Is there any of that in my old sprites thing? That's a nice Triforce to work with. I will take that. Why is it only half of it? Oh, because I was zoomed over to the wrong bit. Wonderful. Right, you can just line it up. Using transparency, it's a bit too wide, I think. Still quite wide. That's better. That's much better. I mean, this is at least teaching me what parts of this are off-center, which is worth knowing. So that's position that, and then wipe most of it away, like the edges. Though I actually probably want a bit of a softer brush there, and that should merge in with the background I've already got quite nicely. Then I'll just align the things to be on it, the gems. Right, how does that look? Not great. I mean, it'll look fine with the gems overlaid, I'm sure. I'll have to just do a bit more precise edging later, but for now, that'll do fine. And also, obviously, it needs to be behind them. There we go. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's just position these gems so they're nice and central on them. That looks pretty good. And I'll probably inset them on there as well, to be honest. Same way I did the other ones. I think, yeah, that looks pretty decent from orbit. And let's just test how it looks with them all covered up. Yeah, that actually looks pretty good, all things considered. So then as they become unlocked, spoing, in they come. Brilliant. So let's see how it would look. First thing we can gain when we get the Kokiri Emerald, spoing. That looks pretty cool, actually. I'm happy with that. The only thing is the middle of this Triforce is a slightly darker thing, but I'll live with it. That's pretty nice. Right, let's lock that up, and we've now completed the quest section. Wonderful, 1 of 4 done. Right, next up will be... which have got the less things. That's got quite a lot. That's got quite a lot. Equipment. Yeah, let's go for equipment. At least here now I've got a nice template for doing it. I don't know if it's going to... I'll probably just bevel the edges on these ones slightly. So I'll make these into one BG, and then I had to remember, what did I call equipment? That's where my spreadsheet comes in handy. Equipment, right. Kokiri Sword. And much like the last one, just got to align each one of these nicely onto its icon. Right, and now I just need to bevel the backgrounds once again. I might do joining lines between these ones horizontally to indicate the kind of connectedness of them in a similar way to I did that one. Yeah, so once again, this starts looking quite nice. Of them, let's see how it looks from a distance. Yep, very nice, all with their nice little bevels surrounding it and linked up. So now we're going to cover most of these with the same thing that I used for the quest items one, with the exception of the Kokiri tunic and the Kokiri shoes, because you literally start with them, so they'll be uncovered from the start. And they said from the scratch, whereas I meant from scratch. There we go. Right, we're getting somewhere now. Definitely. 2 more panels to go, and these ones I'll probably do... they're pretty tight on the spacing, so I don't know if I want to emboss these so much or not. Might have to do a slightly different approach to it. We'll see. Right, we'll start with the items one at least, and see how it goes from there. So you'll notice the slightly strange thing here is I'm bringing 2 ocarinas along in one. That's because they're going to occupy the same space because they're kind of an upgrade. So one will change magically into the other. So I'm actually going to separate them into a different group to allow me to move them as one for exactly that reason. So the bottle, I'm also going to do something slightly strange. I'm going to shrink it down to 25%. Not 25% because that looks ridiculous. 1 pi cubic sharper for shrinking down. 50% is what I wanted. Does that look okay from orbit? Yeah, because there are technically 4 bottles, so I want them all to fit 4 in the same space that I'd normally have 1 thing. So once again, we'll make them a group. Actually, I'm going to try something slightly different. because I think it will look better in the long run. Let's have that. And then some little bottle icons next to it, 3 of them. That'll load up. Slightly asymmetrical, but I think it'll work. I think that basically does just make it kind of clearer what they are. There's 1 bottle with 3 little extra bottles when I get them. Cool. With the bow, we're also going to do something similar, because you've got the 3 different types of arrow upgrades for it, and we'll have them to the side of that. How does that look? I know it's a bit smooshed in, but yeah, it gets the point across, because you've got these little things on here. Nope, where are they? Ah, fuck Christ, too much zooming. These little icons, which I'm going to use. Or, alternatively, I can go for the Wind Waker approach, which I think will look a little nicer. That is, put that there. Slap it into a group, and then I put these at each of the tips of it. Yeah. So then it's the bottom on the bow. Yeah, so we'll actually, those ones won't actually have, they won't be on there at all, it's just, they'll just appear like that as they are unlocked. Just a little dot on it, which is quite nice. Hookshot is once again going to be similar to the Ocarina, that it's going to evolve the touch of a button. But they don't perfectly overlap, so I'll have to think about how to do all of this when it comes to the beveling. I might have to have a separate bevel level. I did not mean to say that. Right, now let's straighten all these out a little bit. Right, so they look pretty good. Now let's just try embossing them, which I'm worried is going to look like shit. But let's see how it goes. Oh, that's not the effect I was expecting at all. That is both too strong and in the wrong direction. Yeah, I think that's quite nice. Subtle embossing. So the way that's done is quite different to the other one. In that with this one, with the other ones, what I've done is made like a layer around here and then done an outer, and kind of inner bevel, an outer bevel around that to create like a hole around a thing. Whereas here, I've actually kind of, think of it as the difference between like nailing a hole shape onto a wall, which is what I did here, and versus drilling a hole into a wall, which is what I've done here. So here I've actually got, there's another layer here, this one called TXT, but this time this is, if I take the items off, it's this outer part here with these holes like cut out of it, whereas here it was, if the texture was where the items are, here the texture is where the items aren't, with the inner parts beveled in, which basically allows the bevel to get much closer into the item, which works better in a smaller space, as you can see. Now I just need to clean these up a little bit. For the ones that have multiple ones, especially the Ocarina and the Hookshot where they're different sizes, I've based them on the larger size, so I should need to test what they look like and whether they look shit when they are the other version. That looks fine. It almost looks good because it's kind of got space to expand into, which is nice. And what about the Ocarinas? Yeah, similar kind of thing. Well, we'll leave it as that for now, I think. Right, let's get these things covered up. So let's see how that looks. Let's say we unlock the Fairy Ocarina. So it's still got a bit of space behind, which kind of does imply there's an upgrade there, which is quite nice. Let's try a similar thing with the Hookshot. So we unlock the Hookshot. It's like, yeah, there's still a bit of wiggle room until we then get to the long shot at that point. Yeah, I think that works really nicely. Cool. That's the items done. It's getting towards time for me to stop for food, but I'm not going to get round in this particular recording chunk to doing the song things or the B arrangement, but I can finish this one off by doing the equipment ones, because I've got quite, the upgrades one, because I've got quite quick at doing it, as you can see. So I'm going to do these exactly the same tactic as I did for the equipment as the items one, of just the drilling holes method, no connecting lines or anything. Actually, maybe there will be some connecting lines. There we go, so this one's a slightly odd one, this group, just because what there is in it really depends on what the sprite's available for, more than anything else. So obviously the gold and silver scales are obvious, as are the quivers. Well, see, that's the slightly thing is the first quiver comes with a bow. Equally, the seed bag here, the first seed bag comes with the slingshot. But then, and bomb bag, same thing, 3 bomb bags. But then the weird thing is for the wallets, there is no sprite for the first wallet. You only got the 2 upgrades that you get, because then these things come with an item, whereas these come with the game. And there is no sprite for the kind of child's wallet that you start with, which is slightly strange, because you've got the adult wallet there and the giant wallet. But this is the best I can do. So, I'm going to emboss, to kind of bevel their little holes in, and draw some lines between them as well. So I guess I might talk through this drilling holes process while I'm doing it, so you know what I'm doing. So I've got the icons here, so I first overlay them with a completely solid colour, so white in this case, and then I do a stroke which is actually on the inside, so it's actually brought in a bit, so the bigger I make that stroke, the more it cuts in. I set it to 1 for now, just because I basically want to just trim this in for a bit. I then rasterize that layer of style, and then if I select the black edges and delete them, or not quite, I seem to have missed some of them there. Embarrassing for me. There we go. What we now have is shrunk in versions of them. This background here is this one called panel. I then make another copy of that, which is my texture one. Actually, this all needs to be behind the edge, doesn't it? Yeah. And then we select the area of the kind of icons, and we delete that out of TXT. So we've now got panel, which is the background, edge, which is the kind of ring bit here around the edge, and TXT, which is exactly the same as panel, except with holes where the item should be, but shrunk in a little bit there. And if we copy the same bevel effects from the items, ta-da, it appears there wonderfully. Quite why it's so strange around the edges. Oh, I know what that is. I didn't expand it enough. Bollocks, right? I have to go back and do some more stuff then. Basically, yeah, I need to bring this to the point where it is in every dimension always going to be the edges of it are behind the panel. That way, when I emboss, when I kind of bevel it, the beveled edges don't appear poking out the edges, because not only does it bevel all the internal kind of holes I've drilled, but also bevels just the standard edges, and I don't want that to happen. Oh, that's already been done. Wonderful. So let's just get that out of panel copy and rename panel copy to txt, and then layer style onto that. I don't know what I did. That wasn't right. There we go. Now finally I just need to actually connect some of these with lines. And there we go, that's it all connected, all kind of lined up. Some cases are hard to see, but you know, there we go. So we can actually finally close that panels bit up, and now we just need to finally black out the various upgrades. We don't start with any of them, I believe, so... Wonderful, and just like that, there we go. There's our 4 main panels done and ready to roll. Starting to look quite good, this thing. Like, how does the whole thing look from orbit? Yeah, there we go. All we need to do now is sort of the B arrangement, but before that, just come up with the texture for that. But I'm really hungry, so I'll do that after food. That was a really weird laugh. So, I didn't record commentary for this part, hence the high speed, I'm just doing it afterwards. So, here I found this little thing that's basically like your... I think it's one of the bumpers for when you're playing songs, but I kind of turned it into a square and found out that actually works as quite a nice thing for covering up the song panels. Tried playing around with putting a staff onto it to kind of cover them up, but that didn't work particularly well, as you'll see here, just trying to cut the thing out, it didn't look great, so I got rid of it, decided to just go through and cover them all up this way, so it should be just as simple as turn these things on and off, well, not back on again, just off when you want to reveal the song structure underneath, so it's just as simple as lining them up, bam, good to go, little test, wonderful. And the final thing left to design was the B-side. So I kind of rearranged the screens in a way that filled the space as best as possible, and then this left me with this kind of gap in the top right. Simple as just extending the background over there a little bit, then copying and pasting the various parts of the visualizer over. I know I'll have to, when I actually run it, I'll have to adjust the B1 as well as adjusting the A1 every time, but the B1 should come into use far less often, because it's not that often I'm going to be showing the bottom screen in kind of full beans. Having positioned them, realised there's a little bit of space there, so if I use this nice little Triforce crest, can copy that over, and once we expand it to fill the available space, wonderful, fits really nicely actually. And so there we go. That is how this whole video has been about an hour. Took me probably about 4 hours over, if you've looked at the dates in the bottom right, over like several months, because each time it took like 3 weeks before coming back to it. That is my entire design process for a visualizer. So thanks very much for watching. Ocarina of Time is now over. I'm recording this on the 20th of November. So I'm actually about to record the first episode of Pikmin tonight. So hopefully you'll watch that when it goes up on Monday, which is not going to be useful for a lot of people. I'm blathering. Thank you very much for watching, and hope you'll watch some of my other stuff. Thank you very much, and good day.